When your great aunt came to America, it was under very unique circumstances. She hadn't seen her sister in over 30 years, and she hadn't seen her daughter in around 5. Her husband had moved out here to Los Angeles a long time ago and had then since restarted his life with a new wife and new children. Her name was Moon Orchid, and she was amazed and terrified by the culture and surroundings when she arrived in America. She pestered your grandmother's children about all of their achievements and everything they had accomplished and how amazing it was. But her children were antisocial and didn't want her around. And she became a huge annoyance on the family. Brave Orchid found that she was incompetent in many ways, and she was incapable of helping out around the house or accomplishing anything at the family laundromat. When Moon Orchid's daughter had to go back to Los Angeles, Brave Orchid devised a plan. When Moon Orchid's daughter had to go back to Los Angeles, Brave Orchid devised a plan for Moon Orchid to get revenge on her husband and take back the life that was stolen from her. They went to his office building, and Brave Orchid went up into the office and met his new wife, who was very young and very beautiful. When she came back down to the car, she had Moon Orchid get all dressed up in order to see her husband. Then she sent one of her sons up to the office to report that there was a patient with a broken leg in the middle of the road. Her husband ran down immediately and was very confused when he did not find such a scene. Brave Orchid accused him of abandoning her, and Moon Orchid was too terrified to say anything. Her husband declared that it was impossible for him to have 2 wives in America, and that he tried his best to support her financially, and that should have been good enough. Eventually, Moon Orchid moves to Los Angeles, but she becomes obsessed with the idea of Mexican ghosts out to get her. She goes crazy. She can't have pictures around. She can't be on the phone. She doesn't want people to visit her in case the Mexican ghosts follow them. Eventually, she moves back in with Brave Orchid, and she is eventually institutionalized because she can't handle it. The problem was that she didn't know how to cope in the new society. Everything was so incredibly different and not how she had grown up. She didn't know how to make a life for herself. She didn't know how to be independent. And she was terrified to get anything for herself and terrified to be alone. This is why it's so important to find a good family for yourself and find a way out into this world on your own so that you don't end up obsessed with ghosts.
Hello, my beloved daughter. When I was your age, I had an aunt come to live with us. She was from Hong Kong, and she was an immigrant. When I first met her, it was her first time in America. She pathetically referred to America as the Gold Mountain. She knew very little English, but she could still communicate. She would follow us children around the house all day and remark on our intelligence, much to our annoyance. We soon grew annoyed with her, as she could not do even the simplest tasks in a house, such as folding towels, doing laundry, cleaning up after herself. The first night she got there, she brought gifts, but she didn't clean any of them up. She was very rude and impolite, but we still loved her. One day, she tried to win my mother's ex-husband back. That was a disaster, as she tried to trick him into getting into her car, and she referred to my mother and her aunt as grandmothers. This horribly offended my mom, so she put Moon Orchid in an insane asylum where she then died. Yeah, that's what's up.
My daughter, now that you're growing up and you're trying to find friends and deciding where you fit in with the world, it's important that you look back and understand your culture so you can identify with who you want to be with when you grow up. So I'm going to tell you a talk story about a woman who decided to make the best of her situation. Over 2,000 years ago in ancient China, there was a young girl named Cyan. Now, at 20 years old, she was kidnapped by barbarians. Her father, her brother, her mother, they couldn't do anything about it. So she went off with them, and she had to live in the sand dunes, and she had to pillage and she had to kill just like the barbarians. She fought alongside them on horseback in close combat, and she killed, and she didn't mind it, honestly. But she was alone. So over the 12 years that she was with them, she had 2 kids. And unfortunately, they were not able to speak Chinese because the barbarians didn't want to speak Chinese. I mean, that's what they fought against. So whenever she could, she taught them Chinese, whether it was at night through talk story, like how I'm communicating with you, or what she did. She decided to make a song. So the barbarians, they had their little reed pipe. And every night and during war, they would blow that reed pipe to signal their coming. And to the villagers, it was a deathly roar. You did not want to hear that sound. But to her, she made something of it. She sang to it. She put words to it. She made poems out of it. And through that, she was able to communicate with her children. So she made the best of a situation, which if many of us were put in, we probably wouldn't be able to survive. So what I am trying to tell you is you may not be the most open person. You may not want to talk that much. I didn't want to talk that much. In fact, I was always quiet. My voice would crack. And I made fun of people who were even weaker than me. And that is not what I want you to do. You may not be able to express yourself with spoken word. You can write down your feelings like I did. Hopefully they're not terrible things about your mother, but any way that you can express yourself and learn about your culture and reflect upon what you're doing, that's how I want you to go through your life. I don't want you to have pent-up anger inside. I want you to be able to talk to me. I wasn't able to talk to my mother because she grew up in China, and that's not what they did in China. So like in the 1920s, you didn't talk about your feelings. You worked day in, day out. You had children, preferably not daughters, but family wasn't your top priority. And I want you to be able to be the best person you can be. And if you want to act, if you want to sing, if you want to dance, if you want to do something through the arts, if you want to write, if you want to be a doctor, you can be whatever you want to be. Just, I hope that you can make the best of whatever situation you're in. Because that's what Tsai Yen did, that's what I did later on in my life, and that's what I want you to do too.